All right. This is Dan Tanner. Dan, thanks for joining me today. We just chatted for about 20 minutes. We're catching up on life. We have a lot of cool things going on. I've known Dan here for about a year, I think, give or take, probably less actually, Dan. But we had some interesting crossover. I think you were previously at Perch with your co-founder, Jack Hartigan. We work with some other agencies that have some of that Perch lineage, and I think that's where the connection came from. And really curious to hear kind of how you got to the Goodwit side out of Perch today. But Dan, thanks for taking the time to join me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sam, for having me. Great to chat with you. I think, one of the things that's been exciting for me and Jack over the past year, and talking and getting to know you and working with you a bit, has been, I think we see eye to eye on things with Amazon and see it in many ways as a numbers game, and a lot of equations behind success to Amazon. So excited to talk about that. I can start off and give you kind of a little bit of context on how I got to where we are today. I joined Perch in 2021. Perch was second largest Amazon aggregator in the US. I actually got introduced to the CEO. I was not in the Amazon space before. I was previously in a finance and operations role, following business school, and was ready for my next chapter. And it seemed like, an exciting space with capital going into the aggregators and so forth. Learned a ton during my time at Perch. I originally joined in a capacity to lead integrations of acquired brands. So Perch acquired over 100 brands between late 2020 and 2022. I integrated somewhere around $50 million of acquired revenue and learned a ton about Amazon businesses from there. I then, after about a year at Perch, transitioned to running our Amazon operations team. So account health, listing health, deals and promotions, and got deep in the weeds of Seller Central and managed a team doing that. Variety of special projects at Perch that I can talk a little bit about, but fast forward, Perch was acquired by Razor Group in early 2024. During my time at Perch, I'd gotten to know Jack Hartigan, who's now my partner at Goodwit, very well. He was on the operations side, leading sourcing and a lot of supply chain work. When the acquisition was announced, and we were, most of the US Perch team transitioned, somewhere around summer of 2024, Jack and I both decided that we wanted to take a swing at something of our own. Didn't want to go back to a traditional corporate job, and so we decided to start Goodwit Commerce at that point. I can tell you a little bit about kind of our philosophy and where we've gone, but I'll pause there.
No, that's a great intro, Dan. Thank you. I to the point of seeing eye to eye, it's funny. I think it starts with the finance background, which is really interesting. Todd was a finance master's. I was an accounting CPA. Had no experience in Amazon when I got into it either, but I think translated really well. I always joke that Excel skills have gotten me my last every job since college, ultimately, and it proved to be pretty true coming into Amazon, because Amazon really changed the game as far as how you thought about retail, right? It was the math doesn't lie. And ultimately you can't be on Amazon and be successful unless the math works. And it was less about developing a relationship with somebody in a retail chain or, a vendor manager or somebody like that. It was more about, hey, if we've got the right metrics, we can be successful on Amazon. And so it certainly speaks to my heart because I feel like I'm a finance guy similarly as well. And definitely shapes the perspective, I would imagine, about how you guys think about the problem on Amazon, and probably why we align on some of those things as well. So maybe just tell me a little bit, Dan, you're coming out of Perch, you see that big, huge swing in acquisitions, and you guys dealt with some problems at scale, some pretty big problems at scale across all of those brands. why an agency? See, it seems like, you're just jumping back into the maw of the difficult stuff. Like what was what's the unique insight, or like why did you guys really feel like there was something more to be done there from the agency perspective?
Yeah, so I think totally agree on all the aspects, right? One of the things that I saw at our time at Perch was all of the brands we acquired, everybody had a different approach to running their financials, keeping their books, and there wasn't a lot of consistency. And a lot of it was, cash flow based. One of the big philosophies that we employ at Goodwit is really starting with unit economics. Does the product work? There are, as there are products that don't work on Amazon to sell through Seller Central, right? Vendor Central has pricing that, if you add a decent manufacturing cost and FBA fees, you can't match that. So that's sort of the foundation of where we start with all of our clients is unit economics and understanding their portfolio. In terms of why we got into, the agency space, I started working with a couple of folks on some contract work after Perch, and it sort of naturally evolved from there. It's a closely intertwined community. Started working with a couple folks on contract work, and they're smart folks. They knew other folks, and it naturally evolved into, okay, there's something here. Working with people that understand, they need to approach this from a finance perspective. And I think both Jack and I felt like there was a lot of learnings from Perch, operationally, strategically, that we could bring to clients. And ultimately, we really value the relationships we build with our clients and feel like partners, right? They have a question that they've, run into, or some sort of issue. We've helped clients find a new manufacturer when they get in a pinch, right? Like that may not be in our scope, but we are, we treat our clients as partners, and that's what brings Jack and I, energy out of this, is feeling like we're partners and helping somebody build their business.
Yeah, and I feel like a differentiator for you guys, just in in the short time I've gotten to know you, is you really do understand the operational piece because of what you were tasked with at Perch. Going and finding those manufacturers and understanding supply chain, which is a particular skill, I think, in the agency business. Like I think you've got a spectrum of models, right, where you on one end you got maybe just performance marketers, and then it goes all the way back to like actual manufacturing partners, or 3PL somewhere in between, or something like that. So you guys really can kind of cover the gamut, which is pretty cool, and I think probably shapes your model a little bit too. I mean, would you mind talking just a little bit about how you engage with clients? And I know you guys have acquired some brands yourselves as well, which is a unique model for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple different things I'll unpack there. So one, in terms of, I'll start with the brands that we operate. So Jack and I, our mindset from the beginning was to talk to sellers and be a good partner to sellers. We need to be sellers ourselves, right? Yeah. We are living this journey with you. We know the pain you feel. We know the, oh shoot, I'm low on inventory pain. We know the tacos are running hot. What do I do, right? And so that's important to us. We own 3 small brands. We are, fully transparent with our clients about, what those brands are and making sure we're conflict free. But that allows us not just to, be able to empathize, but it also allows us to have a testing ground, right? If there's something new in the Amazon space and we want to try it out, we try it on our own account and say, hey, this is exactly what we saw. These are the results. We think it's something that we should test in your account next. Recent example, Advertising Console added campaigns that specifically target B2B customers. We tried that on one of our campaigns for one of the brands we own as a starting point. So that's the kind of things that we like to do, and why we think being sellers ourselves allows us to come to the table in a way that, we see eye to eye. We're in your shoes. And it's fun, right? You get to, know what it's like to be on the brand side and relate to your clients in that way.
I do think that's a really important thing to kind of put a star next to, though, Dan, is like just experiencing the problems yourselves, right? Like, talking about just whoa, like the Amazon console changed, like where did everything go? Or hey, they launched this new program, like let's try it out. You guys had the same stress of Prime Day now being 4 days as all of your clients, right? Which changes how you think about that. So I love that you guys get really close to the problem. We call it eating our own dog food, right? Like we're using the thing that we're selling and actually have some skin in the game, as we would say. So on the client side, Dan, how do you guys typically engage with clients? Is it like a full service model? Do you have kind of an a la carte model? Do you do like a fixed contract, or like how do you typically engage with clients?
Yeah. So at this point, we are a boutique agency. So we're a small team, and I can tell you a bit more about the team and kind of where our strengths lie. Our primary offering that we work with clients on is fully managed accounts. So end to end, we are your partner. Everything from helping you, make sure inventory is in stock, supply chain, all the way through, new listing creation, account health, listing management, and advertising, including design work and all kinds of things. Given that we are a boutique and we work with clients that we truly view as partners, each client is tailored a bit uniquely to what their needs are. If somebody has a PPC person that they love, we'll carve out PPC and we'll run the rest of the pieces there. Typically we do a retainer model, although I would say probably over half of our clients have started with project work and then convert to retainer. We really like project work as an entry point because we think that it allows us to get to know the client and the client to get to know us. And, if it's a good fit, great. If not, no harm, no foul. The project gets delivered and, continue on.
Is that the point at which you kind of figure out those unit economics, Dan, or do you guys have a process for that?
We typically, during onboarding, we'll model the unit economics as step one. Sometimes we'll even do that during kind of the sales process to understand, hey, this is what we see. We think you have a lot of opportunity here, or there's cases where we'll be candid and say, your unit economics are constrained. We think there's some potential, but we don't want to oversell you on something that we can't deliver. So we're open with folks during the sales process and during our engagements. We on numerous times have told clients things that we think is the truth that goes against our interests, right? Like, hey, you probably don't want to be spending this much on an agency because the unit economics are tough, and we think in the long run integrity wins.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think reputation really important, especially when it's a lot of word of mouth. That's actually how we still get clients today. You guys talked about, so just to be clear, you have retainer model, maybe potentially on the full service side. You guys do some project work, right? Just to really kind of find if it's a good fit, for both the brand and for you guys. And then you also have your own brands on the other side. Something in between there would be actually kind of operating as like the purchaser or the wholesaler of a brand. Do you guys actually ever purchase inventory from a brand and house that in a 3PL and sell on their behalf, either as a reseller or from the original account? Do you guys do any of that model?
We have not done that model to date. We, maybe we're not opposed to it. Maybe it's something we test in the future, but our core focus has been really true service provider or true brand owner, not that middle ground that, the patterns of the world fulfill.
Sometimes hard to do it all too, right? It's just good to be clear about like what.
I think we try and stay in our strike zone, and we don't want to over lever ourselves on holding inventory and things like that.
Certainly. So thinking about those clients that you kind of had success with or that you really want to work with, Dan, can you kind of just give me that persona, like who really would love to work with you guys and vice versa?
Yeah. So we, starting at the core, we like to work with folks that are looking for a strategic partner, somebody that, sees eye to eye. We typically work with clients that are under 10 million in revenue. Certainly as we grow here, that may evolve. We typically like to work with folks that, this is a serious business venture for them. They are planning to operate something at scale and get over that critical threshold that it's more than a hobby. Certainly a lot of respect for folks that do this as a side hustle to bring in kind of a small, relatively smaller amount of income. But we're looking for folks where this is, their core business, something that they are looking to build to that 5 to 10 plus million revenue range. We don't work with resellers typically. We generally work with brand owners directly so that you have brand control on Amazon. And then we like to work with folks that are experts in their category. That doesn't mean that they have the number one bestseller, but that they have some advantage in their category. They know it. They've worked in the space for a while. They have some background that gives them an advantage. And so those are the folks we like to work with. We, like I mentioned earlier, largely relationship based. So a lot of our clientele so far has been from within our trusted network and referrals that have come from there.
And you guys are based out of Boston, so you've got some of the maybe older brands that are like really older established brands. Probably a pretty good mix, I would imagine. Like, what's kind of the scene around Boston as far as Amazon goes right now?
We are based in Boston, and team's spread out a bit. I can tell you a bit more about the team. I would say we are not overly tapped into a Boston specific ecosystem. In that, Amazon's online based, it's e-commerce. We work with people all over the place. A lot of our Boston e-com network is former Perch people. And then Thrasio is also based in Boston, Boston, Metro Boston area. So some overlap there. And then Boston has, a couple of big e-commerce companies, Wayfair being one of the big ones locally. A lot of Perch people were former Wayfair folks. So that, shaped a lot of the supply chain talent in particular that came to Perch. Perch's CEO and COO and a lot of the leadership had Wayfair backgrounds. So that supply chain of, delivering large things, that was right in our leadership team strike zone. That influences who we're tapped in with.
Yeah, for sure. I just call that out because I think it's cool just to kind of hear what the buzz around Amazon is in each of the different locales, and kind of where you're at. I know there's just some really cool brands out east that have been around for a really long time. I was just curious to hear if you've seen, what kind of the tail is as far as still, brands still not being on Amazon at all, or, are you launching them from nothing, or are you getting them where they're, starting to tick upward and need a growth partner? It sounds like you guys primarily operate on Seller Central. Do you guys do you work with vendors at all?
We have one client that does Vendor Central. Our core competency is Seller Central. We have Vendor Central knowledge, but we don't actively sell Vendor Central support services. We focus on Seller Central. I'm trying to think. I actually don't think we have any Boston-based clients. As we grow here, that'll come with time. I think about the Boston ecosystem, I think of it, the folks in our e-commerce world, it's an operations supply chain heavy network in Boston, reflecting those that we've worked with.
That means there's just like a lot of different brands potentially passing through there from all over the world, right? Which is pretty cool. So, and you mentioned the team a little bit, Dan. Talk to me about the team and kind of where you guys are at today, where you're going, and maybe just paint a little bit picture for folks of like where's Goodwit today, and where are we going, in the next couple of years if you were to work with Goodwit.
Yeah, absolutely. So by way of framing, I started my career at Accenture, so large consulting company. Shapes how I think about things in terms of people, process, technology. Those were always the three big pillars at Accenture. But at that point, in my career, I learned quickly that when you're running a services business, it all comes down to the people. So we've been very intentional about the team we're building here. When we started, so it's myself and Jack from Perch, and then joining us, a team member named Cody. Cody worked directly with me at Perch on my team for over 2 years. I actually talked to Cody right after the acquisition went through, and I was like, Cody, I'm thinking about doing this, but I'm only going to do it if you're in to do it with me.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, like I'm here for it. So Cody is a Seller Central guru, can get anything done in there. Awesome guy. Overall lives down in South Carolina. He's, got goats and chickens and stuff. So living the true e-commerce life of being able to be anywhere. So that was kind of our starting crew. We have built out some capability-based teams. So we have a design team that does a lot of work on, image stacks, A+ content, etc. We have a sourcing team. So we have right now one person in China, adding another person probably within the next month or two here that we are really excited about. That has been a big help for us, for the brands we own, in terms of sourcing and getting good pricing with manufacturers, as well as for our clients. And then
sorry, Dan, is that a sourcing agent specifically that you have over in China?
Yeah, so it's a direct employee of our team, but focused on sourcing, correct?
Well, that's interesting to have boots on the ground, sourcing from China. That would be a pretty cool unlock for clients, I could imagine.
Yeah, so we have found, so I'll give you a little story there with it. So one of the brands we acquired, it's actually a beer bong brand. I'm not a big drinker myself, so I always find it funny that here I am running a beer bong company. But we acquired Kong Beer Bong November of last year. And we, with our sourcing person, went and found a new manufacturer. We were able to save by having boots on the ground. We were able to improve quality and also saved about 40% on manufacturing costs compared to, the prior brand owner had gone through, US intermediaries, et cetera. So it's a real cost advantage for us and our clients. It's also great in terms of being able to do quality cycles much faster, having a team member there on the ground. So I haven't been over yet, but Jack went over last year and met with a bunch of the manufacturers that us and our clients work with.
That's a huge advantage. I mean, I really want to emphasize that for anybody that stumbles across the video, as far as just, I think especially for brands that kind of are under that 10 million or trying to get going, and, maybe you're even just looking to diversify their manufacturing footprint, or looking at, like you said, finding some cost savings, things like that. Most, I would say, Amazon agencies don't touch that, right? They don't have that kind of, just proficiency or capabilities. So I think that's a really cool thing to be able to kind of put a feather in your cap for you guys, as far as what you can provide for your clients from a strategic standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome capability, and I feel comfortable kind of pumping it up because it's something that Jack has built out, and Jack has done an awesome job with that. So I give a lot of kudos to him. The other big component of the team, and this is sort of still in the works in terms of integrations, but we actually, I apologize to Sam. I had to cancel the first attempt at recording this last week. We closed last week on an acquisition of another team that we're very excited to add. So we added about a 40-person Philippines-based team to the crew, combination of experts in reinstatement work, virtual assistants, et cetera. Really excited about this for a couple of reasons. One, I worked very closely with this team when I was at Perch, so I know the individuals incredibly well. It was, a great moment in time for the current owner to focus on other life priorities, and I've known her for a while, so it was an opportunity for us to step in. And then, why I'm really excited about this, starting with, believing in it for our own brands, but also for our clients, is I think the way Amazon is going, it's incredibly price competitive. I think we know fees are going up on Amazon constantly. increased competition from overseas sellers. And so being able to run a brand efficiently is really important. And part of that is being able to have an agency that has a diversified workforce spread geographically that can deliver in a cost-effective manner. So having that team in the Philippines will allow us to deliver cost-effective work for our clients and at a very high caliber of service, coupling that with a U.S. strategic account manager.
Yeah, I think that's a great unlock, and just something to emphasize, Dan, is just that this reflects in the engagements you can take. Speaking to the project work all the way into the full service stuff, right? Allows you to be cost effective for sellers that are looking at the bottom lines, right? They're not, if you're not above 10 million in sales, you don't have a lot of room, like a lot of wiggle room to be adding line item costs that aren't driving a lot of value for you within the Amazon channel specifically, right? So that's really important. And then I'm curious to hear, what kind of prompted this decision. So, you like, sounds like good timing, and you had some familiarity with this team, but a 40-person team, that's a pretty big thing to ingest, right? And really like figure out process for. I know you guys are right in the throes of it now. So, but maybe just talk to me a little bit about the thought process behind how do you integrate this team, and what does that do for your scale, and where, how does this change the direction or the trajectory of Goodwit generally?
Yeah. So when we're at Perch had a lot of Philippines-based team members, so we got exposure to having a global workforce there, and saw it as something that works, and that excites us. Our kind of vision for what this becomes is that we largely build capability teams within the agency. So you can think of it sort of as a pod model or so forth, but we envision each account over time having a U.S. account lead, a true strategic partner in your same time zone, available to speak, that knows your brand intimately and is your true partner. If that partner can do things more efficiently for you, that allows us to be more cost effective for our clients, right? So does it make sense for Dan to go in and upload new image stacks and click through Seller Central, or do we have a team that's specialized in content management on Amazon, and I connect with that team behind the scenes and say, hey, I need to upload this content, I need to change prices on these 20 ASINs, and I need to add these 20 coupons, right? I can do that much more efficiently and cost effectively through a geographically diverse workforce, and the Philippines team allows us to do that. Our vision is to maintain that relationship-centric approach with our clients while delivering efficiently for them, so that they aren't, paying U.S. hourly rates for, tasks that can be done more efficiently.
And there's no secret that there's a lot of Amazon talent in the Philippines. I mean, Amazon literally has a presence there, had a lot of support presence there. So there's some really cool, like, people have some deep expertise, and they've done a great job of like building that talent pipeline.
Our office is right down the street from one of the Amazon offices over there. So I originally was introduced to this agency when I was working at Perch because we were a client. I was a client at Perch. Goodwit has been a client for the past year, up until this acquisition. We knew we wanted to build out a Philippines-based workforce. There's a couple paths you can go. One, you can build it. Two, you can buy it, or something in between. We recognize that this group that we've acquired had very well trained, sourced good talent, and we were excited about them. I developed a relationship with the former owner of the business, and it made sense for where she was at life-wise. Her and I had developed a friendship during my time at Perch, and so I knew what was going on. We, when I started Goodwit, we had talked about, was there an opportunity to partner? We've kind of continued to have this evolving conversation of, we'll see where things go. And a couple months ago, she decided it was the right time. Things going on life-wise that needed additional leadership at the business, and so it sort of came naturally. We did not go to market and diligence 10 different agencies. It was, this was the one. Otherwise, we were going to pursue, building it more organically.
Yeah. Yeah, really cool. I mean, I think this is a model that we've seen in practice as well, with a couple different agencies we work with, as well as, some of our partners, have a business based in India or Philippines. And it really does, I think, as we think about kind of heading into the AI era here, you talk about augmentation of tasks and things like that. We still just see so much potential and work required to do on these accounts that really does require some manpower. So I think this is kind of an unlock to scale, just to put it bluntly.
Yeah, we view this as an inflection point for us. The other piece of it that we're excited about is it's a Philippines-based entity. It allows us to truly be the employer of record. We're not just getting contractors and subcontracting work there. It's a team we manage their incentives. We take the relationship aspect very seriously, and they are members of our team. They are not, I always pause with the term virtual assistants that gets thrown around in the Amazon world. They are, they're people. We know about each other's lives. One of them that's worked with us for the past year has 2 kids, and him and I have been chatting lots about what it means to be a dad of young kids as I move towards that chapter of my life here in the coming months.
Yeah.
So it's a great group of people, and we're really excited to be working with them.
Yeah, I think that's important to just qualify too, because it'll change the work product too. It'll change the relationship with your clients and the interfacing with your team and all those things. So I'm just curious kind of about the nuts and bolts, Dan. What programs or what software do you use to help manage that team? Do you have like a task system or like Asana or something like that, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, so we're on ClickUp. We use ClickUp at Goodwit. The team we acquired uses ClickUp. They actually we were the first client that they used ClickUp with and rolled it out more broadly.
Cool.
I used ClickUp some at Perch, and my coworkers would make fun of me. I was a big ClickUp advocate. They asked if I was getting a commission from ClickUp. But it's been a great tool for task management, and I think it's as you scale a professional services business, it's really important to be able to stay on top of everything you have to do, because delivery is what it comes down to. So we do that.
Yeah, I just ask because I'm always curious. It's some of the operating system stuff that we're thinking about a lot is like, what tools do you actually use for scale? So you mentioned that's one piece of the scale. Anything else, for other agencies that might stumble on this, like how are you guys thinking about growing here over the next, you literally just acquired an outsourced agency. So that's a big thing kind of to figure out and integrate from a process and system standpoint. What are the other things you're thinking about in order to help scale? You talked about people, processes, and what was your third pillar? Sorry, was technology, right? Of course, right? I should know that one probably, being in the seat we're in. But what are those things you guys are thinking about to kind of help you, to your next chapter? What is that next chapter for you guys?
Yeah, I think so. Step one, this acquisition is very fresh. Integrating acquisitions takes time to do it right. That will probably take us the next 6 months to get to a good spot, whether it's simple things, things that seem simple, like getting everybody on the same email system and all of that. And then from there, my big focus for how we scale is, unlocking processes at scale. First year and a half at Accenture, I was a process analyst, and I'm a big believer that process is incredibly important to run scalable operations. So that's where probably our focus will be for at least the next year, is integrating this business and then building scalable processes and systems that allow us to take on more clients, achieve results, and not have hiccups along the way.
And that's processes for everything, right? It's how you maybe optimize a detail page. It's how you do reporting. It's how you run advertising. It's all those different tasks that could potentially happen within
Exactly.
weekly reviews, things like that, I would imagine.
Yep. And that, all of that ties into technology, right? Getting the processes that tie to the tools, that tie to, task management, reporting tools, staying on top of the, MixShift data layer and reporting there, right?
Yep.
It all comes together. And so having that architecture for scale is really important.
Getting it to come together is the challenge, as you and I both well know, and a hard problem to solve, but a good one, I think, a worthwhile one, which we're particularly interested in. So, Dan, before we wrap up here, first of all, I think this has been great to just kind of hear your philosophy and hear how Goodwit thinks about the problem. I think people would really appreciate this. Just as like some parting thoughts, are there any just kind of big bets you guys are making, or any trends you're seeing in Amazon that you think are like really important that people are missing, or maybe have a contrarian opinion about? Like, what's kind of like on your brain recently? What's in your mind right now?
So I'll give you two answers. One, channeling Jack, diversifying your supply chain without providing a political commentary on any direction. Having a geographically diverse supply chain with, some redundancy there in terms of countries, et cetera, I think is one piece that's probably not a novel thought, but that's something that is very much top of mind.
I don't think people talk about that one enough, frankly. Like, it was obviously like really hot topic as tariffs were spiking crazy, but then now like you don't hear about it again because everything's settled, right? Oh, we're fine, right? We don't need to do this. It's like, well, if you're not paying attention to that warning shot, like, this could change at any point, and it's shifting under our feet as we speak. So are you guys offering a service around that potentially?
We are in the stage of testing it on the brands that we own. Then kind of we'll gradually roll it out from there. But we're working on adding either replacements or redundancy geographically for the brands that we run.
Love that. Very cool.
And certainly something that we talk about with clients. And then two, I think I don't know, you tell me if this is contrarian or not, but I am bullish on slightly higher price point products on Amazon right now. Ideally $50 plus, but could be $25 plus. And that comes back to the unit economics mindset. I think as we see fee changes on Amazon, one fee change could wipe out all your profit on a $9.99, $8.99 product. And so I think a focus on slightly higher priced products gives you some resiliency and unit economic protection. As we have, uncertainty with fees, whether it's Amazon fees, manufacturing costs, tariffs, shipping costs, et cetera. So that's an area I'm bullish on.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Amazon just lets kind of the ecosystem kill off brands, in those lower price points or not, or if it wants to continue to capture those lower price points as inroads to some of the higher, value purchases, right? Like, there's a much bigger conversation, I'm sure, happening internally at Amazon right now about that very thing. And, basically the range of products that they want to continue to support kind of ongoing. So I agree. I think that's a really interesting, like, where do you fit? Is it going to be viable, and how long? What are these other things you can do to optimize profitability? And, Amazon, like, foreseeably, you can't ratchet up fees, forever. Like, there has to be some, some offset, or else like nobody can sell on the platform. So there's something's got to give, and I agree. I think it'll be curious to see. But Dan, thank you so much for taking the time today. Was there anything I didn't ask that you wanted to mention or talk about?
No, I think this was great. I mean, you and I could go on for a while on the economics and finance and all that, but I think we hit the big stuff. So excited to continue.
Yeah, I'll kick off the recording in a second here. We'll say goodbye. But just for the purposes of the video, thank you, Dan, for taking the time. Like I said, Goodwit Commerce, really cool model that you guys are working on. I think you and Jack are some of the smartest minds that we've come across in the space. obviously have a cool pedigree and cool background coming in from the finance perspective. I really think that creates a pretty unique advantage for the brands that you guys are working with. So for anybody that's looking for that type of partner that's really focused on those things, I think you guys would be an awesome fit. So I just want to throw that out there for folks.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, it's been fun to chat with you, and working with folks like you is what makes being on this journey fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Same goes. I'd echo the same, Dan. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
We'll sign up there. I'll pick up the recording. Thank you.